Years ago, Susan Boyle's voice captured the hearts of millions around the world. So, what kind of a house does a voice like that buy you? You might think that Susan Boyle's considerable net worth would mean that she has purchased a lavish home in which she could live an opulent lifestyle. It might come as some surprise then to learn that she continues to live in her childhood home. And while it's true that Boyle's success has given her the means to live it up a little, that's not really how she rolls. Notably, she did purchase a luxurious house on the other side of town in West Lothian, one that she calls the Posh House. Boyle reportedly purchased the Posh House for £300,000, which frankly is anything but extravagant. However, she never actually moved in. Although it's located just a mile away from her old home, Boyle quickly realized that the new house wasn't the place where she wanted to live. So she decided to stay in the semi-detached council house in which she grew up. Home for Boyle represents a place of history and memories. On living in her childhood home, Boyle tells the Sunday Post, "I've spent most of my life in this house, and I won't move now, because I feel it's part of my history." After making this decision, Boyle gave the keys to the Posh House to her niece, who currently lives there. Perhaps unsurprisingly, Susan Boyle has a room in her home dedicated entirely to music. Full of personal and meaningful messages, the music room was the first room the Grammy nominee chose to show when she gave OK Magazine a tour of her home in 2020. Of course, you'd no doubt expect a room like this to contain a piano. As it happens though, Boyle was only just learning to play at the time the video was filmed.
That's a giggle for a start, because I can't even do scales. I'm only learning at the moment though.
Several religious statues stand on top of the piano, while the walls are adorned with paintings and plaques celebrating Boyle's success in the music industry. All in all, it doesn't seem like a terrible place to practice your scales. Susan Boyle is deeply proud of her musical accomplishments. On the wall in her piano room hangs a plaque that was awarded to her in 2011 by Sony Music Australia, recognizing 1 million sales of I Dreamed a Dream and The Gift, two of her biggest songs. The beloved song from Les Miserables, I Dreamed a Dream, was the song that catapulted Boyle to fame when she used it during her Britain's Got Talent audition in 2009. With a combined video count of over 680 million views on YouTube, I Dreamed a Dream continues to mark the pinnacle of Boyle's musical fame. It certainly didn't mark the end of it though. When Boyle's second album, The Gift, was released in November 2010, it debuted in the #1 spot on Amazon's bestsellers. And with 2 Grammy nominations and 3 Guinness World Records to her name, Boyle has broken enough records to prove to the world that she is a truly unique talent. Moving into the rest of the home, Boyle decides to show off her kitchen. It has been newly renovated, now boasting sleek gray cabinets, a beautiful backsplash, and elegant decorations that include a porcelain horse figurine, which is perhaps a nod to her popular song, Wild Horses. As she gazes around at her new kitchen,
"You've got to have a mess before you have a palace, so this is the end result."
Boyle laughs. Boyle also recollects how the kitchen used to look before she completed its renovations, pointing out that it used to be extremely small and quite difficult to move around in.
You really watch what you were doing, you had the room to swing a cat.
On the windowsill of her brand new kitchen, you'll find a picture of Susan Boyle shaking hands with Pope Francis. She met the Pope in 2019 when she performed for him as part of a special Christmas concert in Vatican City. It was an honor that, as a practicing Catholic, meant a great deal to Boyle. She later told the Mirror, "I have to pinch myself at how lucky I am. And 10 years on, I'm still having the most fantastic time with these incredible opportunities. I don't and won't ever take this for granted." As you walk toward the living room from the kitchen, you'll find a framed poster in the hallway featuring Susan Boyle and comedian Peter Kay during their collaboration for 2011's Comic Relief. Comic Relief is an organization that features the work of celebrities to raise money for charity. Susan Boyle and Peter Kay, who performed as his alter ego, Geraldine McQueen, covered Elaine Page's song, I Know Him So Well. It was a massive hit and raised over £42 million. Not only was their collaboration a success for comic relief, but it seems to have led to a friendship between the singer and comedian. They reunited 12 years later in May 2023 when Boyle attended Peter Kay Live in Glasgow, bringing great joy to the many fans who fondly remembered their comic relief moment. Susan Boyle's living room is full of personality and warmth. The newly wallpapered stripes of this room breathe life into the space, while a gray couch sits comfortably against a wall. Boyle describes how after being away for so long, she finally had some work done on her living room, including new furniture and updated flooring.
With me being away all the time, you tend to overlook these things.
Along with the fireplace and a number of willow tree figurines, Boyle has chosen a few quirky decorations for her living room. A statue of a rabbit and 2 statues of cats lounge in front of the fireplace. On the opposite wall, a painting of a deer hangs peacefully. Throughout her home, the decorations reflect her personality and the many things that are important to her. You'll probably notice a number of recurring themes in Boyle's home. Music, of course, is one of them, while Boyle's faith and strong connection to Catholicism is another. The significance of the singer's Catholic upbringing is obvious throughout the house, as much as it is in her career. After all, before she performed her own concerts, Boyle started out by singing in her church choir. From paintings of Mary to crosses on the wall, Boyle's faith undoubtedly plays an important role in her everyday life. During her time in the public eye, Boyle has not shied away from speaking about her faith. Boyle has even cited her religion as the reason she remains single. Though she does want a family, her faith is deeply important to her, and she would like to find a partner who shares her same level of religious commitment. You're probably well aware that Boyle is a fairly humble person. Even with the great success she has found in her celebrated career, she has managed to maintain at least a little humility. Take, for example, the way she chooses to display her honorary doctorate of music. In 2015, Susan Boyle was granted an honorary doctorate by the Royal Conservatoire of Scotland. Donning ceremonial robes, she attended and received her honorary doctorate in Glasgow with her fellow graduates. This degree from RCS marks Boyle's second honorary doctorate, the first being an honorary doctorate from Queen Margaret University in Edinburgh, which celebrated Boyle's contribution to the creative industries. Not one to make a fuss about herself, Boyle has casually pinned her degree on the wall, using simple thumbtacks. Moving upstairs to the second floor, Susan Boyle shows off her dressing room. Before this room was her dressing room, it was the bedroom in which she and 2 of her sisters used to sleep. As the youngest of 9 siblings, Boyle lived in close proximity to her siblings. Describing the room, Boyle recollects the transformation that it and her family experienced throughout the years, recalling when her sister Mary married and left the nest.
So one by one they all left and I was left with this room that's just been my room.
In the room are several hangers full of necklaces, a bowl with pearl jewelry, a teddy bear, and a table of perfume. Boyle's older sister is reported to have been a great encouragement to her little sister, which is perhaps why this room is filled with a number of motivational quotes and posters. Her passing in 2015 is said to have affected Boyle greatly. While standing in her dressing room, Susan Boyle remembers a record player that used to sit in the corner when she shared the room with 2 of her sisters. She then shares how she has always been a fan of the Osmonds, and Donny Osmond in particular.
You've just chewed up your mind, Osmonds.
But this house tour was not the first time that Boyle has shared her love for Donny Osmond. She has previously revealed that her childhood bedroom was covered in his pictures, and she even attended one of his shows without her parents knowing. One of Boyle's dreams later came true when she met and even collaborated with her idol. Susan Boyle and Donny Osmond performed 2 songs on Boyle's album Standing Ovation, and they performed together in Las Vegas in 2012. She later told to The Express, "The Vegas show was really special. I was on cloud 9. Susan Boyle has experienced significant tension with the press over the years, but she is also reported to have had a rocky relationship with a few of her neighbors. Teresa Miller, a former neighbor of Susan Boyle's, reportedly claimed that Boyle's singing was disruptive. According to Miller, Boyle would practice her songs at full volume and even use a microphone. Boyle's representatives denied the validity of Miller's claims. Miller later left the property after being asked to move out by her landlord. Unfortunately, Boyle has also experienced harassment and intimidation from local teens. Teenagers have reportedly thrown stones and pieces of burning paper at her when she leaves her home to frequent shops or uses the bus. However, despite the difficulties she has endured, Boyle still loves her home in West Lothian. She told the Daily Mail, "Why would I move out because of a group of teenagers who behave like that? They are bullies who shout and throw things, but it is my home and where I feel safe."